Rocket, exciting game or potential debutant Brad Shear this weekend.
Yeah, it's great. No, he's playing, so he'll be playing his first game, which I think it's a great fillip for the local area. I think it's a great message for all the local lads on the coast. He's a product of the academy. He's Palm Beach boy. He's worked. He's on the hard yards. He's worked really hard and diligently, and taken the draft last year. Obviously, as I said, out of the academy, and his form's been terrific. He's probably put 4 or 5 really good games together. So he's deserved his spot, even though he was a bit shocked by it when I told him on Tuesday. But we've got every confidence he'll actually acquit himself okay.
So what has he been doing that makes him deserve it? You say his form, but
yeah, his form. I mean, he's getting a lot of the ball. I think just the way he gets it. He's quite a tough inside player, so he's been winning his own footy, which is pleasing. His decision making's been good, but he's been consistent. So we don't think he'll be overawed by the situation.
Did he jump at Hugh, Rodney? He wasn't when you drafted. He wasn't one you were thinking would play perhaps as quick as some others. So
no, that's right. And I think a message you tell young lads when they get drafted, where you're drafted, it's got nothing to do once you get inside the doors.
Yeah.
You can be number 1 pick or you can be last rookie. You're all equal, and then it depends on your form and the way you go about it and your attitude. And a lot of examples of players who have been off rookie lists who have become really good players, and guys who are first round picks don't make it. So Brad, from day one, hasn't missed a beat. He's trained every session, but his form and I suppose integrity around selection. You're going to pick players in form, and he certainly deserves his spot.
Your team's obviously been pretty young, and I know you've mentioned a couple of times that line that wasn't a concern, bringing in another 18-year-old.
Oh well, Jack Bowes won't play this week. Fiorini won't play, so we sort of counter that. I think we've been probably youngest or second youngest team every round, so there is a tipping point. But getting back May, we get back Swallow and College and we get some experience back in as well, which will help.
So Rory hasn't made it up?
No, he won't play this week. He'll play next week in the Neefle in Darwin. He'll go up there.
Fiorini and Bowes, are they just reached the point where they're being rested, or is there any?
It's a bit of both. They're out of the team on as far as selection. They drop, but there'll be managed game times in the twos. It's just unfortunate where the bye falls after the China game. If we give them a weekend off here, play next week, then they have another weekend off. So they'll probably get 2.5 quarters or so in the seconds to keep their edge going.
How, with Bowes for the first sort of 6 rounds of the season, you seem really happy with his performance, but obviously he just got tired.
Yeah, he's a bit fatigued. But he's recovering okay, but we can see at the end of games, especially the last 2 weeks, his last 15-20 minutes, he's really exhausted. So we think for his long term, we know we need to back off a bit. We've actually managed his training loads, but we'll manage his game. So obviously Neefle won't be as high intensity running, and he won't run as much. The fact we only give him 2.5 quarters.
Some of those skill errors you had sort of going in forward 50 at the end of the game, he was one of them, and there were other guys sort of maybe the kicks in. Was that just? Oh
yeah, I don't think you can just blame him. That was an issue in the last quarter. We shot ourselves in the foot. I mean, Jack kicked a nice goal in the end as well. So that we've got every confidence that he'll be back soon.
What did you learn from Collingwood, Rocket, from how they beat Geelong last weekend? Did you take something from?
Oh yeah, you certainly take something from every team that plays the way the opposition who you're going to play, the way they played, but also the team that plays them. So yeah, some things that you can learn out of that. But it also depends on personnel. We've got different personnel to what Collingwood seems, but there's certain things we'll take out of it.
The tag is back, and can you do it without altering it? Does it fit in your structure?
The taggers are sort of waned a little bit, haven't they? Everyone gets fascinated by the 18-man team defence. But yeah, I think there's a place for it. There's no doubt. We tagged a little bit last year with certain players, so I've got no doubt there's a place for it. I don't know whether it actually died, but it's probably waned a little bit. But yeah. I think everything in life and everything in footy is a bit retro at times, and it always comes back at some stage.
Yeah, it was one of the things that Michael Barlow revived his career with last year. Jesse Lonergan's done a few in the Sexton. Are you going to do it? And do you have a nominated Player? Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it, whether I think that's an option we can go to at some stage on a player. It's a bit like some coaches historically have always said, well, wait, that person who you might want to tag might have a bad day anyway, so we'll wait and see how they perform early, and then we can adjust from there.
There's a bit of cackle about Danger's ribs. Do you think he's in? What are you expecting?
I expect him to play, and that will prepare for him to play. So I think it happens with players if they have a down day. It's like Pendlebury the other week had a down day, he must be injured, but obviously Pendlebury came out and said he wasn't injured. I think when Gaz had a bad game, was he injured? So we tend to the great players to say, well, they've had a bad day because of injury, but maybe just other factors. Maybe their biorhythms weren't right that weekend.
Rocky, just brought up Gaz then, he had that amazing game against
I wonder when there's going to be a Gary question. I reckon that's the longest I've got through a press conference without being asked about Gary.
Amazing game for Gaz. How did he pull up, and are you expecting the same level from Gaz against his old club?
He's pulled up really well. I suppose there's no expectation on the level we have on him or any other player. So if he gets to that level, great, fantastic. But if he can play his role and have the same work rate he had last week, we'll be pleased. And that means getting 30 possessions and having 10 clearances, well, that's great.
Do you expect a tailor on maybe him?
I haven't thought about it, to be honest. He's had a tag most of his career, so I don't think that's going to be any issue with Gaz.
You mentioned after last week's game his defensive work. Is that something you've really pushed him on?
Oh, no, it's like all players. We've had discussions about it. We haven't pushed it heavily as such, but we've had discussions about it. But I think it was much for people who criticised him in round two. That was probably my point, that I thought his work rate was up and he worked hard defensively, so it was as much as that to highlight.
Rocket, I know this weekend is all about Geelong, but what's the process after that, just getting ready for Port Adelaide in China? Like, when do you go and leave? What's the recovery plan?
We leave on the Wednesday morning, early. So we'll have to get our recovery right for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We won't be doing a lot. Probably the whole week you won't be able to do a lot. So we'll get over there late Wednesday night. So Thursday a bit of recovery. Probably train Friday and have a bit of run Saturday as well. So it won't be the ideal preparation, but it's the same as Port Adelaide. The same thing will happen when you've got to travel so far. So we've put some protocols in place already for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And then we just got to get our diet and sleep and everything right by the time we get there.
Rocky, you said you were going to seek some clarification from the umpires after last week.
I was wondering if that was going to... Michael, I thought Andrew might have asked that one. Yes, I did, Michael, I did. I didn't phone on the Monday. I waited till Tuesday, so to give them a bit of time to settle down. I thought they might have phoned. I know, but it's not a public holiday in Melbourne. I thought they might have phoned me, Michael, but they didn't. They agreed that the 2 free kicks that the media brought up in the press conference after the game weren't warranted and they shouldn't have been paid. And there were some other things I got some clarification on too.
Is that any consolation?
Not at all. As I said, it doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean, because you can't change it. And there's no good whinging and moaning and going crook about it. It's just to say, well, where's the actual demarcation line about the first one about the bump? Is that going to be a free kick from now on? Because I wouldn't have thought it was a free kick. He said no, it was unwarranted. And then the quick hands of Matera, we hit it with a fist, and obviously the umpire was blindsided and probably shouldn't have paid it. Not probably, he shouldn't have.
Do you feel like you've got a bit of a stiff run from the umpires recently? You know, there was the Colin Jasny one a couple of weeks ago as well. a couple of shockers in a row, really.
Yeah, but I mean the one with Colin Jasny's not going to change the game. But I mean they are what they are. Hopefully there's swings and roundabouts, and you get a few on the way out the other way.
Do you feel that's affecting the playing group at all? Like the fact
What's
that
that?
just the fact that you've got a few of these stiff decisions, and last week it may have lost you.
Hasn't even been mentioned. No, not an issue.
Rocky, just quickly with Brad, is he likely to spend the whole time up forward, or can you put him in the mid for a little bit?
We will contemplate putting him in the midfield. He's played a little bit in the midfield, certainly as an under-18 last year, and a little bit in the reserves. Mainly as a forward, I would have thought, but he's got the running capacity to go in the midfield. He's got a good GPS profile, so certainly the ability to cover the ground would be okay.